Hello Billy, back at it again with a new series, and my new series is called Reliving the Past, and welcome to Season 4 everybody. Go on Alpha Clock Productions, go watch everybody else's series because we have a great season for you. But anyways, my series is called Reliving the Past, where I take a look at 8 old consoles, and I'm gonna relive the past, tell you the history, tell you my experiences with it, and just tell you all about the console itself. So I'm gonna pick 8 consoles of the 23 consoles that I have, I think. So yeah, 20. It's insane. But I'm only gonna pick 8 that I can talk about and that I know, because I can't really talk about the XCGS or whatever, or the 3DO. You know, you guys probably don't even know what that is. But anyways, today I'm gonna start with the NES and talk about the console and everything else. So let's get straight into the episode.
Will you be the one to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System? The one to play with Rob, the extraordinary video robot, batteries not included. He helps you tackle even the toughest challenge. Will you be the first to raise the incredibly accurate Zapper and play games like Duck Hunt or action-packed Hogan's Alley and high-flying Kung Fu, each sold separately? Will you be the one to experience the Nintendo Entertainment System? Comes with Rob, Zapper, Control Deck, 2 controllers, Gyromite, and Duck Hunt.
Hello Billy, back at it again. Yeah, like I said in the intro, we are reliving the past with the NES. But first, I'm just going to take a second to talk about last season I had Life of Game Hunting, and that was a really good series. I'm glad that went well. And you should see my room now. I might just do a couple shots here. But it's a mess. It's literally a mess. Like, I legitimately, I have too much stuff. Like, I would legitimately want to sell some stuff for, some money. But I'm looking around and I don't know, I want to keep a lot of stuff. I don't want to get rid of the stuff and I'm going to be oh, I'm going to regret it. So yeah, you guys should see my room, and I have so many consoles on the floor right now. It's insane. But yeah, I got my new setup. It's pretty good. It's allowed me to, I just set it up yesterday. It's allowed me to set things up. But I just have so much stuff and it's on the floor, and I just can't wait to clean it up. Can't wait to get rid of all the little junk stuff and finally clean it up, because it's really annoying, just making me freak out. It's oh my god, I just have so much stuff. I want to keep the consoles, but there's just nowhere to put them. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that today. We're talking about the NES. The NES was released in 1985 in I think in Japan first, and this was a really good system. This was the system that came out after the game crash, and people were like, oh, Nintendo, and a new system, right? And Nintendo made, what did they make? They're oh, we made a system. They released the NES in the US, I think 85, I think it was 83 in Japan, but everybody loved it, and it was calling everybody back from the video game crash, because the video game crash of 83, the NES was released in 83 in Japan, I think, but 85 came, Nintendo was oh, we're going to take a chance, and we're going to release it in the US. So once they released it, it blew up. They had Mario Brothers, and they had, Duck Hunt, and, all these, launch titles. I don't really know all the launch titles, but I'm pretty sure, obviously Mario was one of them, I'm pretty sure. But, once these games started coming out, Zelda and all these games like that, everyone just wanted one, and this was the biggest console launch ever. It was just so amazing. So obviously now we're in the year 2017, and it's kind of, obviously it's run its course. It's how old, but it's still one of the systems that everyone goes back to. When you have a collection, this is a system you have to own because of all the games that it has and everything that it has. But I actually got this. Like I said, if you don't know me, I started collecting again. Well, not again, but I didn't really start collecting. I was always a gamer back in the day, but I started collecting my legit collection 2013 at the end, and then my first system was a GameCube, December of 2013. That was my first system that I got as collecting. I'm I'm gonna start collecting. So I bought a GameCube for $30 or something like that, and then eventually I got this from my cousin. I traded him. I got this. I traded a Genesis 2 model with the cords, and then he's I guess he felt bad because I had no way of communicating with him. So like the one day I'm like, it was like a year later, and I'm like, I have that Genesis that you needed, and he's like, oh, I have like a couple of them now, but you can still bring it up and we can probably trade. So thank God he traded me with this, because I don't know where I would find an NES, because I don't find them at the flea market really. They're always beat up and everything. So yeah, it's sad. It's like really sad how you can't really find these. Like everybody has them, or they're in stores, so there's not many of them in the wild, you could say. So I got Mario 3, 2, and Tetris, I think, with this one from my cousin, and I think he had like Eternal Champions or something like that with the Genesis. But it was July 4th, so it's July 6th right now. So it was like 3 years ago in 2014. That's insane. So I had this exact NES 3 years ago, which is, it's been a long time, and it's been in my room ever since. Like, it's just crazy. I play it, I play it a lot. I have like 20 some games, and it's just pretty fun. Like Mario is always fun. Mega Man, I have Mega Man 5. This game Commander, that's fun, and other games. But I'm not gonna get into the games right now. So, let's see. This is the system itself. Everybody knows this faulty front loading thing where you have to clean these, and like it bends the pins in the back. So that's why you clean the pin connector. And every NES you find, it's kind of guaranteed to be broken. So that's why I learned how to clean them and stuff like that. And it's so easy to get. This goes for around like, I want to say $60 with the cords, maybe 40 to 60. And even the games are pretty cheap. Like there's 800 games released on this thing, and most of the games are cheap, but they're fun. If you want to get like Mario 3, they're like $15 or $10, whatever. So this still has some value to it. It still has some value to it, but it's a system that you should play. And let me think. When I was a kid, I had no experience with this because nobody I knew had one. Another thing is that the controllers. When the controllers were made for this thing, they had something called the D-pad, and back in the day, like that was insane. That was absolutely insane back in the day, because before, all the old consoles had like freaking like joysticks or like buttons, just like buttons, not like D-pad or like directional. That was pretty, like, it was pretty good back in the day. And then after that, obviously everybody started making it. Like the Super Nintendo, obviously they made it again, and then like all the new consoles like Xbox and PS3, like almost every controller has a D-pad. And it's crazy to think that just from this, people don't know, from this had the first D-pad. So from this, everybody started just making it, because it was like, you need it. It was like, you definitely need it. So at the time, I'm trying to think when this console was like in the 80s. I'm trying to think what consoles were going against it. I'm trying to think if like the Atari, maybe like the 5200 or 7800 was on it. Probably the 5200 was on its way. And I'm trying to. There was not many competitors against this thing. Like the Sega Master System, I think, was around the same time, but it was nowhere near as popular. Like I said, there was not many consoles released at the same time, obviously, because the video game crash was, coming, smashing it. So this was like the only system, and I'm surprised. Oh yeah, another thing is about its like history. There's a lot of history on this thing. I don't really have much other stuff to say about the console itself. It's just NES, But another thing about the history is, when this thing was first released, it wasn't really a video game console. They, like I said before, like when Japan came over, they were like, we can't say it's a video game console because everybody's gonna be like, ew. So they were like, it's a toy. So that's how the robot and the Zapper came along, and that's why Duck Hunt existed. I forgot about that. So they came over and says an entertainment system, obviously. So at the time, they're like, oh, we're not gonna release many games for it. It's just gonna be like a toy, like toys that come. This is like a toys that come with the system. So, So at the time, it wasn't a video game system, and that's why they didn't have like crazy like Zelda games, because it's just a video game at that point. So they had like Rob the Robot and like I said, but it's crazy that people were like, oh, it's not a video game console, it's a toy. It's obviously a video game console. Like later in its period, when they started releasing all these games for it, obviously it was like, oh, okay, now Japan's like, now Nintendo's like, I mean, what the heck? I mean, when Nintendo was like, oh, okay, so we're gonna, now it's popular and everybody has these systems in their houses, we're just gonna start releasing games for it, and that's how video games came back. So Nintendo is like insane at just thinking of that strategy of thinking that. And if it wasn't for Nintendo, we might not have a NES or any video games these days. And that's how I have this big room of video games. Because everything, well, before that, like what existed before that? The 2600 and all these Pong systems and all these old systems. But yeah, if we didn't have this, if Nintendo did not make this in the US, would video games exist today? Probably, but it would probably be so much different. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I actually don't have much to say about this thing. I'm surprised. But like I said before, if you want to get this system, I would definitely recommend it. But you know, there's other systems you can get for cheaper, like a PlayStation 2. Like how many games? That's newer. How many games does that have? Like 1,000 or something, 2,000. I don't know, a ton. But yeah, you can get other systems. But if you want to go retro, this is probably the best retro system you can probably get. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this first episode of Reliving the Past. I know it was a little short. I didn't have much to say, and I can't really think much to say about this thing. It's just, you know, the controller, the console, and we talk about the games in a later series that I'm planning on doing. So guys, hopefully you enjoy this first episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Building out.
So, you like that video you just saw? Huh? Maybe, you gonna share it with your friends? Huh? Maybe, leave a like and a comment below? Maybe you hit that subscribe button for us, yeah? Alright, good.
So now get out of here.